I'm Rebecca Logan, and today I'm going to be swatching some new ink. I just got an order in from Vanness, and I want to swatch the colors on two papers, Cosmo Air Light and Tomoe River 52 gram. So you'll see I have a glass dip pen here. I don't actually use it to write with, as it has too broad of a nib, but the back end is excellent for swatching without leaving any marks on the page. So let's get started. I think we'll start with Ferris Wheel Press, Definitely Peachy. It's from a few years ago, but Vanness still had a few bottles. And this is right up my alley. I like very pale, unsaturated inks. They make me happy. And I'm just doing a small swatch on each page because I have 13 bottles of ink and 4 samples to swatch. And I forgot to prepare a paper towel in advance, so let me just do that now. Paper towel. That's the other thing, this cleans beautifully with just a paper towel. The glass dip pen, the back end of it cleans really easily. This dip pen is really pretty. I bought it in Venice. My husband and I were in Venice for 2 days in 2019 as part of our trip to Europe and to England. So it was 2 days is not enough time for Venice. Definitely not enough time for Venice, but it was better than no days. So I'm glad we went. And I have this pen to remember it by. So next up is another, oops, wrong end. Pay attention, Rebecca. Next up is another Ferris Wheel Press ink. This is Madame Mulberry. And I will label these shortly. Madame Mulberry is a grayed berry tone. Right now it's registering as pretty much straight gray, but the berry tones come out as it dries. Back into the container. Next up is the third and final Ferris Wheel Press ink. I like Ferris Wheel Press. They do some amazing unsaturated or less than saturated colors. And I like that they're Canadian because I too am Canadian-ish. Canadian by way of New Zealand. Storied Blue is the next one. This is my second attempt at getting Storied Blue. I ordered it in December and it did not survive the winter. It cracked and the ink spilled everywhere. So this is bottle number 2 of Storied Blue. This time I ordered during a warm streak of weather. And Vanness did a super job of putting everything in a padded envelope, in padding, and making sure everything was protected from the cold. There were do not freeze stickers all over the package, and although the package did spend a few days in Winnipeg, which is much colder than it is here in Alberta, only one ink leaked a little, and that one we have yet to see. Okay, next up is a Califolio ink, Gris de Pain. So the English version of that is Payne's Gray. Califolio inks come in these really cute little 35 milliliter triangular bottles that if you get 8 of them, they make a circle. I do not have 8 of them. This is my 5th Califolio ink. Next up, my first inks from Panonia. This is Danubius, which I think means Danube. But on the bottle and the box it says Danubius. You'll be noticing a theme with these blues. They're blue-gray, light, and kind of dusty. I like my blues to either have a lot of green in them or to be very dusty and unsaturated. It's still winter here, so I'm still in unsaturated land when it comes to enjoying my inks. That's Emo. He's crying because I'm not downstairs giving him attention. But he has the ability to walk upstairs and come say hi. He just won't. This is my second Panonia ink. This is Belleton Keck, which I think means Belleton Blue. And this is more of a periwinkle color. Redip that a little bit. Let's get a little more on there. You'll notice I'm trying to get a substantially wetter bit on both swatches, where the inks can show off their interesting qualities. So far, these are all inks that are unsaturated and have interesting stuff going on. Let's see. Next up is a Vinta ink. This is the only one that leaked. And you cannot tell here on the base of the bottle of the box, but this is the only one that leaked. There you go. There's a little bit in there. It's a pretty full bottle. This is Sirena, which is their green. More dip. And this is a green with beige undertones, which I find absolutely delightful. Cleaning my dipper. You can see what a good job the end of this pen does. Okay, we're down to the bottom of the page, so I'll come up. Next up, I think, is the one I screwed up and cut the lid off. Oops. Well, it showed little scissors there, so I used them. And yeah, I cut the top lip, flat portion of the lid off. This is Brunch Date by Colorverse. Now, I love soft, salmony, light red, unsaturated reddish brown tones. And this is one of them. Look at that glorious color. It's almost a coppery color. Colorverse Brunch Date. I'm having trouble getting it back in the bottle. Colorverse always puts extra stuff in. I don't know why. It's unnecessary stuff. But I'm finding it a little difficult to get it back in the bottle. Bottles I never have problem with because they don't come in a box. Robert Oster, rhymes with toaster. This is Cherry Blossom. I have a large selection of Robert Oster inks, I think 17 or 18 already. But this was one I felt I was missing from my collection. It is Cherry Blossom. Which is a lovely grade pink. It's almost a brownish pink. Another Australian ink. Robert Oster is an Australian company, and this is Van Diemen's ink. Is from Tasmania on the south coast, off the south coast of Australia. This is Black Tongue Spider Orchid from the Wilderness series. My husband and I have been to Tasmania. We went there in 2018. It was absolutely magical. We were on the Gold Coast with my brother. My younger brother lives in Australia. We were there to visit him and his girlfriend. But it was just too darn hot for us Canadians. We were there in their fall, coming into the winter, and it was just still too hot. The summer heat was residual, and we just couldn't handle it. So we took off and went to Tasmania for a week, which was absolutely wonderful. The temperature was much more manageable for us, and Ivan and Emily came down to join us for on the weekend. Had a wonderful time in Tasmania, and then by the time we went back to the Gold Coast, the temperatures had dropped a little and it was manageable in the high 20s and early 30s or low 30s, which for you American people is, think, a really nice, warm, pleasant day, edging on a little hot. I have no idea what that temperature is in Fahrenheit. But yeah, Tasmania was lovely. We didn't go... We didn't know about Van Diemen's ink. I don't even think they had started back in 2018, or if they had, they didn't have an international presence yet. But now I'm glad I have one of their inks. Next up is Pilot Iroshizuku Yamabudo. I have 4 Pilot Iroshizuku inks already, but I did not have Yamabudo, and it's a color that has been calling out to me for quite a while. This is not an unsaturated ink. This is not a dusty ink. This is not a shading ink. This is a very rich sheener. Dab some extra on there so we get that sheen. You'll notice I've taken the little scarf off. I always take the scarf off my bottles of Pilot Iroshizuku. Can't stand the little gray scarves. Next up is Private Reserve, my first bottle of Private Reserve ink. I was tempted to get avocado, but in the end I chose black cherry because I have a pen by Retro 1951 that is called Black Cherry. It is a fountain pen, not a rollerball. And I thought, having black cherry pen, I should have the black cherry ink to go with it. I do like to match my pens and my ink if I can. Ink on my fingers and thus everywhere. My last bottle of ink, I went through 13 bottles pretty quickly, we're only 15 minutes in, is by Diatromantis, and it is Paul Gauguin. also known as mint turquoise. Which is a beautiful, rich, saturated mint turquoise color. That comes in a plain, unmarked brown cardboard box. Very unassuming. And then, as well as the 13 bottles, I bought 4 samples. I think I will put those samples on the same page. And I'm going to have to move the phone so as to get the samples in down here at the bottom of the page. Sorry about the shaking. It will stop soon. So, another Van Diemen's. This is Tazzy Salmon, Van Diemen's from Van Diemen's Summer Collection. Tazzy Salmon. Ooh, that's rich. That is rich and glorious. Next up is another Panonia. Selempezgo. Velvet Champagne is the English translation of this one. Panonia Velvet Champagne. Ooh. That is very nice. I like these little nothing colors. Me and the unsaturated inks get along very, very well. Inks like Yamabudo are a rarity for me that are so intensely saturated. I tend not to be drawn towards the more saturated inks, preferring the softer side of ink colors and the grayer side of ink colors. Let's see, another Private Reserve, Arabian Rose. I was tempted to get a bottle, but I have quite a few dusty pinks already, so I thought I should get a sample instead. Private Reserve, Arabian Rose. That looks a lot like the Cherry Blossom and the Black Tongue Spider Orchid, actually. Kind of like a halfway in between them. And the last ink is another Panonia, and it is Lichen. Another pale green. I really wanted a bottle of this one, but Vanness was out of bottles of Velvet Champagne and Lichen. I would have bought full bottles of each of those. There comes Nell, but I am scooting her past my camera. Okay. That is the samples done, but still wet. So this side is the Cosmo Airlight paper. This side is the Tomoe River paper. And we have, let's get a pointer that isn't, pointer. Pencil will do it. Pointer that isn't clear glass so you can't see through. Definitely peachy is up too high. We're gonna have to move out a bit. There we go. That just gets everything in. So Ferris wheel press, definitely peachy. Madame Mulberry, storied blue. Califolio Grey de Pain, or Payne's Gray. Panonia Danuvius. Panonia Belleton Keck. Vinta Sirena. Colorverse Brunch Date. Robert Oster Cherry Blossom. Van Diemen's Black Tongue Spider Orchid. Pilot Iroshizuku Yamabudo. Private Reserve Black Cherry. Diatromantis Paul Gauguin or Mint Turquoise. Van Diemen's Summer Tazzy Salmon. Panonia Velvet Champagne. Private Reserve Arabian Rose. And Panonia Lichen. Is that Panonia Lichen? Yes, Panonia Lichen. And over here on the Tomoe River paper, definitely peachy, Madame Mulberry, storied blue, Grey de Pain, Danuvius, Peloton Keck, Sirena, getting better, Brunch Date, Cherry Blossom, Black Tongue Spider Orchid, Yamabudo, Black Cherry, Paul Gauguin Mint Turquoise, Tazzy Salmon, Velvet Champagne, Arabian Rose, and Lichen. Now, none of these have fully dried yet. Well, some of them have, but not all of them have fully dried yet. But you can really see the beauty and the tones that are coming through in so many of these undersaturated, this column in particular. And you can see how well the different tones are represented in the columns on both papers. I love Cosmo Air Light paper just as much as I love Tomoe River paper. You get incredibly beautiful colors with both. So thank you for sticking with me for my swatching. I would have taken you through the formal swatching process in which I put them into my swatch book and enter a page, but I realized that would have taken me hours. So this is the quickie version, if a 24-minute video can be called a quickie version. Thanks again for bearing with me, and enjoy some color in your days. Thank you.